Now, the battle over COVID relief continues with both sides digging in. President Trump pushing for a standalone airline rescue bill, but House Speaker Pelosi saying there's no standalone aid without a comprehensive package. Now, despite this apparent stalemate, the Problem Solvers Caucus, which helped jumpstart stimulus talks a few weeks ago, remains optimistic on a deal. Joining me now are the co-chairs of the caucus, Democratic Representative Josh Gottheimer of New Jersey and Republican Representative Tom Reed of New York. Really appreciate you guys coming together to be here today. I think it's emblematic of your efforts on COVID as well. Congressman Gottheimer, let me start with you. Why no skinny bill on airlines?
I think you really need to take, and I agree with the speaker here, a more comprehensive approach. Who are you going to decide to leave out? Are you going to leave out restaurant workers? Are you going to leave out airline workers? What about all the other small businesses? You know, the only way to really get this done, and I think we were really close, so we just got to get everyone back to the table, is to look at this of the same way we've been looking at this. You got to help small businesses. You got to help families get through a tough time. You got to help our small towns and our local governments who are really struggling. So the deal is, there's a deal, but as you know, it's very hard when you start breaking it up into little pieces, because then you're going to leave certain people out and leave others behind.
Congressman Reed, is there a dollar figure for you for a combined bill that would be too high? As I understand it, there's some pushback amongst Republicans who face maybe not election this year in the Senate, but in a couple of years, who think, you know, the size of spending, the amount of it could come back to haunt them. Is there kind of a range that you're comfortable with here?
Well, you know, as we put in the Problem Solvers Caucus, a bill that was built from the bottom up, what is needed to get us through the foreseeable future into March? And if you do that, the number takes care of itself. And I think, you know, I've heard a number that potentially being discussed of 1.7 trillion. I think that's right in the zone. Our Problem Solvers Caucus bill was at $1.5 trillion. That was based on evidence and data. So I'm letting the evidence and data drive the bill, and I know they're very close. They are so close, and if they would just listen to each other, I think we could get a deal done here for the American people and take care of not just one industry, but millions of Americans, as well as hundreds of thousands of employees that are threatened with layoffs if we do nothing.
Congressman Gottheimer, I'm going to ask you a question that sets you up for kind of an easy one here. But I really want to know the answer. How close was a deal before the president's tweet the other day? And how close are we now? Because the analysts that we've been speaking to this week say there's no chance anything gets done now before the election. What would you say?
I mean, it's certainly a lot harder than it was a couple days ago, you know, before the president's tweet. And I think, you know, Tom and I aren't in the room, of course, but we're talking a lot to our leadership on both sides and to the White House and to all the parties. And I know they were really, really close. And I really want to thank them for staying in the room and not walking away on the American people, because I think you just got to, as you know, any deal to get done, you got some ups and downs, but you got to stay in the room. Right now, I believe the deal is still there to be had. I don't think there's, you know, if you ask my opinion, we just have to get back to the table. We're trying to help and do anything we can, because the idea that you'd walk away till February, really, till after the next inauguration, and leave all these families and small businesses and communities, you know, out, like, and just leave them out is frankly unconscionable. And the economy can't handle it, and our families can't handle it. Not to mention all the testing that's probably going to need to be done as we head into flu season and as we face some potential spikes of the virus. So, you know, from our perspective, we're not giving up. You stay at the table. We're calling on everyone to get back, and we're going to keep pushing.
And I don't look at the president's.
Gottheimer, what about? Sure, go ahead, Congressman Reed.
Yeah, I don't look at the president's tweet as devastating as many other people do. I think what he's doing is it's drawing out the last and best offers from both sides in black and white to be put on the table. And maybe that's what needed to be done, because we can't drag this out in perpetuity. It's time to put the best offers forward. And I will tell you, if you do that, it is very close in regards to a deal that can be hatched here. And that means the American people win. So let's just do that, stay in the room, exchange that final paper, work out the legislative text. And I'll tell you, if you do that, I think the daylight will see this deal through to the finish line.
But Congressman Reed, what about the fact that the Senate isn't going to be back in person for a couple of weeks? Go ahead.
Well, because it's going to take some time to do the legislative process. So, I mean, obviously, the Senate's going to be in session taking care of the Supreme Court nomination. And what you could envision is that the Senate takes it up, gets it through, and then the House can either do it by unanimous consent, or like we've done in the previous bills, or, as Steny Hoyer said, 24-hour notice is all it takes to get us back there to pass this bill and get it signed into law. So we can get this done. The mechanics of the legislative process, if we have the will and we have the agreement, I know we can get this done for the American people.